let's get into it. Let's get spicy.
Takes.
Let's get into it. We have the NFL season approaching, and of course, we have to have some of our. We're going to do our predictions on Wednesday. All of our over/under totals, all of our predictions, who's making the playoffs, so who's winning the Super Bowl, so on and so forth. So, we're gonna get to that Wednesday, but we got to get the hot takes out first on some things that we probably don't believe, but there's a small little opening chance that, hey, things could go crazy and shit could hit the fan. So we got some hot takes for you that we'll find out. We'll see. But I already put this out there. Scotty, I know you were putting together a couple hot takes. Rec, I think you have a couple. Is that correct? So
Yep.
let's dive in.
Say why your guys' hot takes are wrong.
Let's get into it. All right. So I don't even know where to start with my hot takes. Let's see. All right, let's start on the NFC. Hot take. Oops.
Spicy.
Here's a spicy take for you.
Heyo.
Heyo. I think hot take. The Eagles' offense is going to be an absolute disaster. We're just diving in and just saying they're just not going to, like, we looked at their offense and we're looking at everything that they have going on their roster, and we're just like, just foaming at the mouth because it's like, man, there's going to be so good. They have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson. They just acquired Dallas Goedert. I think we're forgetting that one of the biggest things this offseason had to do with one of their best players, and that was Mr. Kelsey. Organizing things offensively on that line. Like, they lost arguably the most important player on that offense, arguably. He was intricate in that tush push, important in that tush push that got him where they are. He was important in the run game. He was important in the quarterback run game. He was important in identifying defenses and plays. And even when Jalen Hurts was out there and calling things, he would turn around and be like, hey, wait, no, we're not doing that. Because look what's happening here. We saw the injury that took place with Hurts last year that literally derailed their second half of the season. So if he gets hurt at any point, like, there's going to be another downslide for this team. The coach is on the hot seat. I don't know. For some reason, hot take, I just feel like the Eagles' offense isn't automatically going to be this juggernaut that everyone thinks it's going to be. And they're going to actually struggle a little bit without Jason Kelsey.
Or Travis. I can see it happening. I think the one where I would pump the brakes a little on that is I think Jalen Hurts was hurt down the stretch last year. Not fully healthy. Couldn't do some of the things maybe he can do otherwise. I do think losing Jason Kelsey is a big deal for that offense. I do think they're a little lost with, like, coordinators and the offense vibing, and I think AJ Brown can be a difficult wide receiver. I didn't even know they traded for Jahan Dotson, but anytime you can trade for a first round guy that comes from within the division, you have to do it. I'm lying. Usually I like it. If Washington is trading you a wide receiver, a former first round pick wide receiver from like 2 years ago in division, that means you're setting yourself up for failure. Actually, you should be like, why am I doing it? I don't care how talented Jahan Dotson is. There's got to be 8 million red flags there. 8 million red flags. To go along with AJ Brown, who was weird on the stretch last year. So I don't think the biggest issue for them might be, like, figuring out a positive vibe and continuity and being, like, on the same page. And Nick Sirianni is, in my opinion, one of the worst coaches in football. So that's a problem. So I could see all of that. Are they going to be terrible? I wouldn't call them terrible. They might be really good too. They could be really good. I mean, they have a ton of weapons, right? Like,
So what makes it a hot take?
Saquon, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. I think Jalen Hurts like had the game of his life actually in the Super Bowl. I think that's the best game he's ever played in his life. Was in the Super Bowl they lost. If you go and watch tape on every other game he's played. But I don't know. I don't hate that hot take. I don't hate it. I'll throw one out real quick.
Okay.
And this is the only one I could think of off the top of my head, and this is how you know I'm not chairman.
Prepared.
No. This is a hot take. I'm not sure it's gonna happen. I wouldn't bet it even to necessarily happen, but it wouldn't shock me if it happened, but I think it would shock a lot of other people. The Detroit Lions don't win the NFC North.
Ooh.
The Green Bay Packers don't win the NFC North.
Ooh.
The Chicago Bears.
The Chicago Bears
Hey.
win the NFC North.
Wow.
I like it.
There's
I
a hot
like
take.
it.
It's spicy.
That's a spicy.
That
I mean,
roster, they're going to be good. If people don't know yet, they're going to be very good, whether it's this year or next year. The Chicago Bears are going to be. I feel so bad because you think about the Bears' history. Yeah, they had that Super Bowl in '85. They've never, Chris, never had a quarterback throwing for 4,000 yards in a season.
Nope.
Forget 5,000, 4,000 yards in a season. Russell Wilson probably almost threw for 4,000 yards last year, and he sucked. They're paying him $50 million to be elsewhere. That's how bad the quarterback play has been in the history of Chicago's franchise. They've never had a quarterback, ever.
It's crazy. So you're leaning into my next. It might not be a hot take for like 2024 necessarily. Maybe. But let's stick with this real quick. So yeah, Lions fall off. Green Bay, with all the hype around Green Bay, fall off. I mean, people are overshadowing this Chicago team only because we talked about them and we were looking at they could have one of the best wide receiver core. They're
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. Like, come on.
Rome Odunze is, I think, one of the. They were saying that he could be a one on this team, even with all the people the way he's been playing. Like, it's crazy to me to think that like you have the best quarterback coming out of the draft, and you also have this. Like, typically quarterbacks go to shit teams that don't have any talent whatsoever, and he gets in just this amazing just gold mine of players around him, which is, I mean, everything you could ask for as a rookie. So I think people are underselling the Bears this year. I think people are overlooking them, thinking, oh, it's Detroit and Green Bay. They have the top two. I mean, I think SDG was like, Scotty, you're off your rocker with this one. I mean,
yeah,
this is what hot takes are, though, right?
Yeah.
There are things that like you don't necessarily believe, but at the same time,
I could see it.
You
I'm
can
higher on the Bears than most. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean the Bears in their division,
they're coming. They're coming.
Like I said, a value prop. They're almost 3.5. Think about this. They're 3.5 to 1 to win the North. That's not that long of odds. I mean, they're closing in on Green Bay at 2 to 1 and Detroit at just over even money. Like, it's not like they're far in the distance here. They're not like the Carolina Panthers at 11 to 1. You know what I'm saying? The Bears are right there. So, hey, let's go. I like it, Scotty. I like it.
So let me ask you this, Scotty, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
With your hot take, do you think Keenan Allen gets hurt and then that helps Rome Odunze shine and that helps the Bears long term? Or do you think they all need to be healthy?
Well, first, I think him getting hurt doesn't help Rome Odunze. I don't think Rome Odunze needs help long term. I think Rome Odunze, what he's the best at, he's like
Long term, yeah.
I think Rome Odunze is just he's already knows how to. Even Keenan Allen said this. Run routes. He's a great route runner. He knows the intricacies of the game. He's like a vet without being a vet at the wide receiver position. I think they're gonna feature all three. Does Keenan Allen get hurt? I'm not a genius. I can't predict the future in that mold. I don't think it helps them to. I think Rome Odunze is going to be very, very good for a very long time, even this year, even if he's the number 3 wideout. And if he is very good, then you're talking 1 to 3, potentially the best 1 to 3 wide receiver core in the game. If Rome Odunze lives up to that top 10 first round pick hype he just got drafted at. So I think Keenan Allen is still a very, I think I love the fit of Keenan Allen and DJ Moore because they're very different players at the wide receiver spot. And then you have Rome Odunze that can kind of do somewhat a jack of all trades, so he can fit anywhere he needs to. So I love the weapons out there. The running game is going to be interesting. I think their offensive line is underrated, and I think Caleb Williams is going to surprise some people. I think there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that are going to surprise some people and how good they are this year.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Is Devil Doc also a producer now? He's always kind of been around in the background. We've incorporated him more and more, especially during the NBA season, and then he's been hanging out with us in the NFL season, and it's been fantastic. So, yeah, I think he's a staple. Doc, you love being here, right? We love you here.
I do. I love that.
Let's go.
Co-producer.
Yeah, let's go.
Who's that? Who's the guy that just
Bobby.
spoke? I'm not familiar with that guy.
Bobby and
Bobby, what's who's your team and where you from?
Let's
Like to
go,
get to know
Bobby.
you, Bobby, my man. All right. So going off of your hot take of the Bears winning the NFC North and Caleb Williams, you mentioned Caleb Williams. There hasn't been a Bears quarterback that has ever had 4,000 yards ever. Steelers. Oh no, Steelers. We have a lot. We have a lot of Steelers.
Sorry for your loss.
Sorry
Bobby.
for your loss. We have a lot of both of our producers are Steelers fans, so you're right at home, Bobby. Welcome in. Good to have you here in the lab. All right, here's another take, and this kind of spans this year, but it also spans the big picture. But we'll just my extremely hot take this year. By the end of the season, Caleb Williams will be the biggest Chicago athlete since Michael Jordan.
that's not that high of a take. I'm not gonna lie. Chicago has not had the best.
They don't-
athletes.
Well, hold on. They won a Super Bowl. The Cubs finally won a Super Bowl in between that time, so that's big.
that's not a Super Bowl in baseball.
The World Series.
Did I say Super Bowl? Did I really say
Yeah.
Super Bowl?
Yes, you did. You said the
That's weird. Yeah.
Think
The Cubs
I
didn't
mean,
win.
Blackhawks.
Cubs didn't win a Super Bowl.
about it. Like, I mean, who are the biggest star? Like, football is king,
Patrick
right?
Kane.
Patrick Kane.
Maybe Patrick Kane.
But
and Jonathan
Kane
Taylor.
but you're telling me, though,
Tays were big out there for. A
But
very
what's
long
the
time.
biggest?
That's very tough.
What's the biggest sport in America, or what's
Football.
the football? What's something that has been starving in Chicago that they've needed at that position? A star. They've never had a star in the biggest sport. The Bears are a legendary franchise, and they've never had a guy. Like, they've never had the guy, like the superstar. Michael Jordan was he's the biggest name in that town, right? So let's just say he comes in, he's got the swagger as a rookie. He's got all of the hype. He lives up to the hype. He could break based off of what we talked about, every single season record. 4,000 yards. I think 29 touchdowns is the record for most touchdowns in a single season for the Bears. Like, here, like, what are we talking? If he breaks all of those single season records as a rookie, he's automatically launched himself into a stratosphere in the city of Chicago, one of the biggest markets on I mean, he's got all the weapons to do it. He could.
Well, let me ask you this: What about Walter Payton?
Well, Walt Payton. I mean,
I mean, wasn't he around this? Like, he was around the same time as Jordan.
I'm just saying because you're saying that
he would
surpass.
surpass.
Is that what you're saying? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Between Jordan and them, but
yeah,
I'm
between
just trying to.
since Jordan.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
since
Patrick
Michael
Kane-
Jordan was
Kane and Tays would be it because they single-handedly carried Chicago until the Cubs won something. They are Chicago's sweethearts. So
Yeah.
I'd say besides them, yeah, he definitely could. Absolutely.
like, and to be honest, he could achieve that and not be overall a great result this year. Like, all you need as a Chicago fan probably right now is flashes. You need the and granted they did have flashes with Fields, right? And they got obsessed with that. But you like consistent flashes from Caleb Williams probably hit different than Justin Fields. No disrespect to your backup quarterback in Pittsburgh, guys. But there's a reason you got him for like a 4th round pick.
Not even like if they're lucky, they'll turn into a 4th.
Yeah. So I can see that. I could see that because there's not. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when hockey was winning, it was huge, but like NFL hits different. So yeah, Tays and Kane were obviously cornerstones for the Blackhawks team that was winning Stanley Cups for a long time. You look at baseball, you got the World Series with the Cubs, not to be confused with the Cubs winning a Super Bowl, like I said earlier. But who was on? I mean,
Rizzo.
Rizzo,
Rizzo, maybe?
Bryant, like these are guys that are already on new teams. Like, there's no like inherent like I'm a Cub for life and I'm one of the greatest to ever do it. That was like a staple on that Cubs team.
I mean,
at least now.
You
they
could
thought
say
at the time it was, but
you could say like Devin Hester. You could say
Urlacher.
Derek Rose, Brian Urlacher.
It's probably Urlacher. Urlacher's probably the biggest. Derek Rose got an MVP and then just got hurt, and his career went to
that.
Yeah,
right.
And again,
when is he not hurt?
And again, everyone in the chat who's like, "Oh, Walter Payton," or any, no, this is since Michael Jordan. So, well, Walter Payton's last season was what, 87, 86, 88, somewhere in that range. So that was
90. Yeah.
So I'm saying since Michael Jordan, there's not. I think it's a. I mean, maybe it's not as hot of a take than as.
I don't think that's that hot of a take.
Wait,
they have a number 1 overall pick in the draft at quarterback that's gonna make some plays that are gonna make them very, very excited. Where Justin Fields plays a lot of times might have involved his legs. Caleb Williams, it'll involve his legs, but it'll also involve his arms, and of course they have the inherent comparison. I mean, it's already happened this preseason. They're comparing him to the GOAT.
Tom Brady.
People forget about Frank Thomas too, but Frank Thomas was right around the same time as Jordan. So I think Jordan retired after Frank. So if it wasn't Jordan, I would say Frank Thomas would be the guy for Chicago.
But even still, quarterback.
I agree.
Right. No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying Frank Thomas, like people in Chicago do not, but others outside of there.
To be clear, I want this to be a good sports show. And somehow Rec, when I said GOAT, thought I was talking about Tom Brady. That's embarrassing. Obviously not.
Caught in 4K.
Would never say that. Obviously, we know who the GOAT is. I don't know if there's a bet on how many times I mentioned him today, so I won't mention him, but we know who the GOAT is.
Bobby drafted Christian McCaffrey in your draft. Good pick. That's a great pick. If you can get him on your team, regardless of how many people.
Actually, Chris, I am shocked. I get mad at how many like guys who like are fantasy football experts that like put
overthink
videos on like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and they're like going through and they don't have McCaffrey at 1. I don't care if McCaffrey's hamstring hurts right now. I could give two shit. Like,
that's insane.
The dumbest take I've ever seen, to be like, you know what? I would rather have Bijan Robinson, who had like 800 yards last year, than Christian McCaffrey that outscored every other running back by about 100 points. It's so dumb.
It's crazy.
It's so obvious. If you have the number 1 pick and you don't pick McCaffrey, I can't help you. I can't help you.
Yeah. Don't galaxy brain your drafts. Let's not go crazy and galaxy brain them to where it's like you're just trying to grasp at straws, trying to figure out everything to outthink your opponent and your people in your draft room. Like, just freaking take the guys.
There's one surefire running back in the world, if he's healthy, that will win. He will definitely finish number 1 if he's healthy, and it won't be close. Take that guy.
Yeah, Chairman McCaffrey could miss half the season and still be a top 5 running back. Yeah, exactly.
It's stupid. It actually makes me angry when people are like giving this advice to these poor saps and being like, "Oh no, he's running back 3 for me behind Bijan and Brees Hall," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" They're like, "Well, he's got injury concerns." Brees Hall is a rookie, missed most of his first year.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Running backs get hurt. That's what happens.
Crazy,
Take
man.
the
It's
best
crazy.
one and hope he doesn't get hurt. Ugh, so dumb. It makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Just don't overthink it, guys. Just be true. Be true to your
So,
gut feeling.
Hot take.
Go ahead.
The Super Bowl this year could very easily be between two teams that have never before made it to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so let me guess because I don't know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say Lions. That's the NFC team, right?
Yes.
Okay, AFC easily. It could be easily that have never made a not won a Super Bowl, made a Super Bowl.
It never made a Super Bowl in their
So
history.
Jacksonville hasn't made a Super Bowl, right? Tennessee.
They have not.
Tennessee's
made one.
No,
They have.
he's talking.
They have.
He's talking about the Texans.
Oh, Texas.
That's the other team.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So you're saying
you can
it
talk
could-
about it more. Sorry, I just
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Tell us your reasoning.
I mean, Detroit, they kind of had their. Last year was supposed to be kind of their F round and find out year in the playoffs. I mean, overall for a team that hasn't really done much in a long time, they did well. And with the Niners all-in push, we don't know how they're going to do. Like, I feel like the NFC's between the Niners and the Lions again. In Dallas, they choke all the time. Eagles, In the NFC South, who the hell cares? So, I feel like NFC it's a toss-up between Niners and Lions. That's going to be an NFC Championship game for sure. In AFC, I don't think the Chiefs will three-peat. I know you disagree a lot, Scotty, but I don't think they three-peat.
Yeah.
I would say that right now, if you want to win a Super Bowl and you're not a dynasty, you have to be a very young team. The Texans are a young team, very dynamic, elite quarterback, elite head coach, got playmakers all over the team. The one question I have is, again, Stephon Diggs being a bit of a cancer, but I think they have what it takes to make it to a Super Bowl.
I would push back on elite quarterback and elite head coach. There's nothing to say that either of those guys are elite yet.
Yeah,
they had good first years.
Yeah, at very least they looked elite in their first year. As long as that keeps up, they'll be considered elite.
They had good first years, but to call them elite is aggressive.
I'm kind of with STG. I think we have said this too. Sophomore slump. CJ Stroud, Houston Texans. Everyone's hyped on him. Everyone's expecting. But keep going. So Rec. So you think this could be a Super Bowl matchup?
Yes, I could see Texans Lions as a legitimate Super Bowl matchup.
Ooh.
It'd be a fun game.
And that is a very real possibility.
That would be America's everyone roots for both of those teams.
Yeah, they'd be happy to finally, America wants someone that hasn't won before.
I mean, to have two fan favorites that nobody hates the Texans. You can't hate the Texans.
I still think they'd cheer for the Lions over the Texans.
But
man, that's because the Lions have been a franchise for a lot longer.
The Lions. There's tons of people on the East Coast that root for the Lions. I talked to a lot of friends in the East, and they're all like Detroit. So you definitely would have the East Coast. Detroit would definitely have the East Coast.
So, quick question, Scotty. Obviously, you have the Chiefs as your top team in the AFC. Mm-hmm. If you were to pick the Chiefs, who would be your next team in the AFC?
That's actually harder than you think. I think the Ravens probably fall off a little bit. I still think quarterback play is huge, and I think Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the NFL. So the Bills, while their roster isn't as good as it has been, will still be in the mix. You got the Bengals, who have proven themselves and have made a Super Bowl, and this is kind of like their ride or die year, right? Like this is
Pretty
Bengals
much.
Don't do it this year. When do they do it? Texans are up and coming. I get that.
Can I give you a hot take from another hot take that I have that might help you?
Insert it right here, Chris, because I have a hot take again. Well, a similar hot take in the NFC, but go ahead, Chris.
The Jets will be a top 5 team in the NFL. They'll win the division. Garrett Wilson will probably get some sort of offensive player award at the end of it.
That goes against everything you ever say.
I know
you were such an Aaron Rodgers fan.
I know. This is like I've gone. So that's why I try to surprise people because I'm like I never believe in the Jets. The Jets are the Mets of the NFL, and they're always going to choke away. But hear me out. They had a number 3 defense last year to go along with an offense led by Zach Wilson that went 7-10. If they stay healthy and let's say they get competent quarterback play out of old man Aaron Rodgers, right, who's had plenty of time to rest up, they might have one of the best running backs.
He's also 42, so rest only can do so much.
They might.
Is he going to be like Rip Van Winkle out there?
He's spent a lot of time in the dark, like reaches of caves and stuff, probably. So he's had a lot of time to recharge the batteries, right? He has a top 10 receiver on his roster. He has a top running back in the league with Breece Hall if he's healthy. He's not micromanaged by Hackett because Hackett doesn't call plays like, they're buddy, right? It doesn't matter. Hackett it's the cushest job in the NFL because Rodgers does his own thing on the field. They have an above average offensive line. If he stays upright and stays healthy, Jets are a top 5 team and they can potentially fit into that category of a team that pushes into the playoffs and might have a chance to win some games, especially behind a defense that was number 3 last year in yards. And I mean, they were pretty good.
They were. Sometimes when your defense is that elite, it's a little smoke and mirrors because teams are like, we don't have to throw all over you because like we don't have to score because you can't score. So there's like some red flags I have where everyone's just assuming the Jets defense is like elite beyond elite, and I would pump the brakes on that a little bit. Last year, the teams didn't have to score. They were like, well, we'll just be conservative because you won't score on us. And now your savior is a 41-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles that is relying on ayahuasca and other things, and he doesn't show up for practice half the time. I have concerns.
Work-life balance, Scotty. Work-life balance, okay?
Don't tell me about work-life balance. My work-life balance is real good right now.
Yes, sir.
So I get it, and I'm only a little younger than Aaron Rodgers, just barely. I'll do like a quick hot take that's still kind of in line with my other one, but like if you gave me even odds, Chris, on who will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and I could pick one to division, it's the NFC North. The NFC North, my hot take is the NFC North will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh,
whether
NFC North.
It's not going to be the Vikings, spoiler, and it's probably not going to be the Bears. So while the Bears might surprise, and my hot take was, they'll be a lot of fun. This year's probably too soon. So I still think the NFC North will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
You believe in Sean Clifford?
Clifford, baby.
No. No one believes in Clifford.
So
no.
Spicy and I like it, says STG, and I like it too. I mean, there's you got two up and you got the Green Bay Packers, who have
youngest team in the NFL, but we're right there last year. Probably too soon. Jordan Love now has got paid. You have a depth that the weapons on offense. I don't love Josh Jacobs replacing Aaron Jones, but it's not a huge loss one way or the other. You have a good offensive line. You have a good defense. That team is dangerous. It's very dangerous. And then you have the Lions, who's everyone's favorite pick in the NFC, right?
America's team, the Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions somehow became America's team. Yes.
Jaron Hall balled out yesterday. The Vikes are the NFC North Super Bowl team you're thinking of, says Black Market Wrestling.
That's what I meant. When I said not the
there it
Vikings, I
is.
meant, of course it's the Vikings.
Of course, it's Jaron Hall.
Balled out, baby.
For the passion.
That dude got a hall pass to the Super Bowl.
Let's go. I'd rather Detroit than Dallas be America's team. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Until they start winning, and then we're all going to hate them again. Just like any other team that wins.
I mean, to be clear, guys, when you're like, oh, we like Detroit because they haven't won, that was KC, like, pre-Mahomes. Everyone no one hated KC. They're like, oh, it's like the little engine that could, you know? KC's trying to win stuff. And then they started winning, and you're like, I get it. I don't blame people. I'm not saying I would be the same way. I hated the Patriots because they won.
Yeah, we all hated the Patriots.
I would hate the Chiefs if I was a Chiefs fan. I would. I'd hate them. They win too much. No one likes someone unless you're just like a diehard of a player. Like obviously Jordan and the Bulls. I love Jordan, so I was all on board with that. But like in general, yeah, if you're a fan of a different team in the NFL, it's annoying to watch another team, a different team.
How many people hated? How many people hated the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors go into the NBA Finals every year? We hated seeing those two teams.
I honestly, that was one of the main reasons I stopped watching basketball. It's like, what's the point? It's LeBron or the super team.
So it's like it's natural.
It's a natural thing to like cheer for a team because like, oh, I like those fans and I want to see them like get some level of success, and then they get too much success and you're like, F them. I want someone else to get it.
It's like
fair. It's totally fair.
It's like that one Megamind meme or the Chiefs coming in like, oh, you freed us. I wouldn't say freed, more like under new management.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, SCG was like, I was rooting for KC, then they started winning too much. Of course. that makes perfect sense.
It all changes.
And that will be, if the Lions, let's say the Lions do that, everyone will be like a Lions fan. And then if the Lions win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, everyone will be like, F the Lions. I hate them. That's just how it works. That's what happens. And it's fair. It's fair.
Black Market. You would like that one, Scotty. The guy said FUKC since birth. Sorry about your dyslexia.
I said FUKC.
There it is. I mean,
reverse.
All right, so that's your. So all right, so you got the champion coming from the NFC North. I like it.
The NFC champion.
Oh, the NFC. Oh, sorry, NFC champion
the
coming
NFC
out.
Representative in the Super Bowl will be from the NFC North.
Ooh, okay. Well, you know, one team that might give a little run. You know, I was thinking about the divisions. You said that, and I was kind of curious, like, which division pushes out the NFC? And I'm like, you know, obviously a lot of people like NFC East to Philadelphia. You know, you got Philadelphia, you got Dallas. Then you got, you know, the NFC South. No, not going to happen. But then you got the NFC West, and there's 2 teams coming out of there, San Francisco, and a team that might be part of my next hot take. Well, it is part of my next hot take. That the Rams will be the best offense in the NFL, and Matt Stafford will win the MVP this year. For a couple reasons. One, there's a lot of fatigue around some of the MVPs. You got Lamar getting it all the time. You got Mahomes getting it all the time. And you're looking at this Rams team run by McVay, elite coach. He knows how to run an offense. This could be one of the best offenses he's run in his career, and had to play with, right? He's got some amazing players on this team. You got obviously Puka Nacua. You got Cooper Kupp if he stays healthy. You got Tutu Atwell. You got Kyron Williams, and you know you got some nice pieces for Matt Stafford, who Matt Stafford has done a lot with a little. He's been hurt and still has had some good things going for himself. Tyler Higbee coming in. I mean, there's a lot to like about what that offense could look like. And I think they could be one of the more potent offenses in the NFL this season. I was high on them going into last year, and they kind of disappointed me. But that was before we got Puka Nacua coming out and just absolutely just torching everybody after Cooper Kupp had his MVP, campaign earlier on, right? So it's like this should be offensive coach, offensive players, offensive everything. You lose some defense, so I don't know how far they'll go in the grand scheme of things. I think they could be a sleeper team in the NFC, but the Los Angeles Rams finished with the best offense. And hot take on that, and hot take on Stafford being in the running and winning MVP.
I don't hate the take in general. It's aggressive, obviously, but that's what a hot take is.
Yes.
But I like the Rams team offensively coming into the season. I think Kyron Williams, maybe even a better hot take, is like he leads the league in rushing yards.
Ooh. Yeah. So,
or at least the number one fantasy back in all of football this year. I could easily see Kyron Williams being that guy if he stays healthy. Yeah, you have Puka Nacua, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Matt Stafford. Obviously, there's injury concerns across the board there.
Sure.
Even with Puka, who's been a little beat up in camp and stuff like that. But the offensive line is like the key there where I'm like, I get worried because Matt Stafford's a baller and he will still be good even without protection, and he'll get hit and get up time after time. But like still, you get Matt Stafford time and he's a top 5 QB in the league with time. If everyone had the same amount of time, like a well-protected offensive line, Matt Stafford can sling it anywhere, even at his age. So I don't hate that take. Yeah, it's a hot take. So do I expect it to happen? No, but I don't think it's crazy. I think it's a good offense right there.
Yes, sir.
It's a very good offense.
Let me ask you this: do you think the loss of Raheem Morris going to the Falcons changes at all with that defense? Do you think that plus Aaron Donald?
I think the defense is a concern.
Yeah,
we're only talking offense here. I think the defense.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, does that
Rams
put more pressure on the offense to have to succeed more than they did last year with everything that happened on the other end of the football? Is what I'm saying.
I don't think it's Raheem Morris that makes that much of a dent. I think it's losing Aaron Donald.
Well, I said that too, but he's a top defensive-minded coach in the league. Like, people were a lot of teams were after this guy, so it's not like they're just losing a defensive coordinator. This guy's one of the best defensive minds in football. You know what I mean? So that's why I asked, just because we know what the offense is going to have. And I agree with your hot take. I do think that Williams could absolutely be a top guy just based off of what we've seen. And he has wide receiver help that he could, the box is going to be wide open for him. And he has great hands. So.
And maybe they dig themselves. Their defense doesn't give them any favors, and they have to dig themselves out of holes by throwing the ball a little bit more too. So you never know.
That's kind of what he was saying. Yeah, it might. The offense will perform, at least statistically wise, better because they have to, because of the lack of defense. And that checks out. I mean, Mahomes' best season was his first year in the league because the defense wasn't stopping anybody.
Right, you're in shootouts.
The only reason I didn't put Los Angeles as a hot take to win that NFC West is the reason why we're talking about now is how did that defense look? Because you lose the best player. So I was gonna cross that bridge, and I was like, do I truly believe that the Rams defense is gonna be able? Their offense, I don't worry. Yeah, it's the defense that I'm worried about.
A couple questions in the chat. First about Matt Stafford. Black market. I like Stafford a lot, but did you say he's top 5 in the league today? Seems high. Top 5 thrower of the football in a clean pocket. That's like a very specific thing, right? Like as only a thrower of the football, he's still top 5. Yes. I mean, obviously he's not going to extend plays. He's not going to do things like that. So is he a top 5 quarterback? No. But simply as a thrower of the football, he's still top 5 for me. No doubt. Like, yeah, people will be like, Lamar Jackson's top 5 QB.
Not top
it's not
5
even
thrower of the football.
Thrower of the football between Lamar Jackson and Matt Stafford. The other one, people were asking about Justin Herbert, I think. What was the question?
was how he was going to do.
So here, JT, first time chatter. What if
JT.
people keep picking the Ravens to be Super Bowl contenders? Lamar's worse than Dak in the playoffs.
Lamar's not good in the playoffs.
Thank you, JT.
Yeah.
JT, if you would just ride with us, you
Right,
would
right.
I've said for years Lamar's never going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that
Same.
He doesn't. He is worse than Dak.
You're gonna die on that hill, Scotty, and it's gonna be
I'm
the
not
right
going to die
hill.
on that hill. I'm going to win. I'm going to live off that hill. I'm going to feed off that hill. That's so accurate. It's crazy. Even Tom Brady was interviewed this offseason, and he talked about it a little bit. He didn't want to, but he was like, the top. He was like the top. He said, obviously, Mahomes is like, and then he was asked, who's the top competition in the AFC to the Chiefs? And he said, Bills and Bengals, I think. And then he said, I think Niners in the NFC with maybe another team. I don't remember, but people, and someone was like, what about the Ravens and Lamar? He's like, Lamar needs to show up. Lamar's been so trash in the playoffs, historically bad, like so bad in the playoffs. Even when he wins games in the playoffs, he's not good.
He's
not good.
They're the Mike D'Antoni Suns. I compare a lot of teams to them. They win a lot of regular season games. I think I did. That was who I compared them to before. Is they win a lot of regular season games, but the type of football they play doesn't translate into postseason football as much as some of these other teams that.
He's like the Joel Embiid for me of basketball.
Yeah,
great in the regular season, whatever, but it doesn't translate.
It doesn't.
Season.
He just disappears.
Doesn't work out.
So JT, welcome in.
Although Joel Embiid's actually better in the playoffs than Lamar.
It's at least, yeah. I mean, he's. I keep trying to vouch for. It's weird.
I remember the question now, and it was a really good question. Someone asked about Herbert and whether Jim Harbaugh as the head coach helps Herbert a lot. And I think a lot of people assume yes, it will. I'm not sure. I think Jim Harbaugh, one, weird guy, weird personality, but obviously incredibly successful at what he does. In the NFL, I think it's more short-lived because those guys keep coming back and they are like, why do we play for this guy who's an asshole? I think he's a little bit of an asshole, and that's okay. To have a coach that's a little bit of an asshole, sometimes that helps players, right? But as far as Herbert, everyone assumes that Jim Harbaugh is some sort of
wizard
QB guru. And it's like, when has that happened at Michigan? What QB can you say that just balled out at Michigan? They just won a natty where their QB, who just got taken like in the top 10 of the draft, they hardly asked him to throw the ball. They didn't even ask him to throw it. So while I think a great coach could help Herbert, because Herbert has all the traits outside of somewhere along the lines, his mental capacity he's too much of a robot. Herbert is too much of a robot. And I think Harbaugh is a weird robot guy too. So I don't know if it helps. Herbert is clearly a robot where, like, in his head, he checks one, he checks two, and then he just dumps off. Where, like, if he had some innate ability to know, like,
Extend
hey,
the play.
I'm athletic, because he is. I can run. I don't not even run in the sense of, like, running, but running to extend plays behind the line of scrimmage and extend plays rather than just bailing out time after time to your running back in the flat, or like trying to force a ball where you're kind of throwing it away but trying to fit into your wide receiver. That's Herbert's clear biggest weakness, and I don't know that Harbaugh fixes that. I don't know if Harbaugh is the guy that's right to fix that, because Herbert talent-wise is like top 5 in the league, but he has that mental issue. And I don't think Harbaugh's the right guy to fix it, to be honest. I would be the right guy. Hire me.
Hire Scotty
I would
Smith.
fix Herbert.
Hey,
I would fix Herbert.
make sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just think we're kind of waiting for Herbert to, like. Obviously, he's put up numbers, right? He's been very, very good putting up numbers and being competitive. But that, like, it factor Like, does he have it? I think he does, but it's just like hidden, and you don't. It just always disappoints you every year, and you're just like, man, like this guy is supposed to be a top 3 to 5 quarterback, and has that as his ceiling. But we just never see the results.
Harbaugh doesn't strike me as the guy that's just like, hey, if you don't see something within the first few seconds, go ahead and run around and create. That's just not
how
Harbaugh's personality. And he's incredibly successful, and he might be successful in LA with the Chargers, but like that's not what he's done before. That's not his MO.
JT, more overrated, Herbert or Lawrence?
Lawrence.
I gotta
Herbert's
go
better than
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
I would say
Lawrence is more overrated.
I would say Lawrence as well. Just because Herbert, I feel like I still have that belief that he's going to turn into something, and I don't think Lawrence isn't going to. I think he will, but it's just not the ceiling that we thought he might have.
Lawrence obviously was hyped more than Herbert.
Yes,
to be fair.
Yes,
right.
But if I'm taking a guy to start tomorrow in the game, I'd still take Herbert over Lawrence too.
I mean, he has 114 touchdown to interception ratio. Never had below 20 touchdowns in a season, even when he was hurt and only played 13 games last year. He still did the best he could with a team that was hurt all across the board on offense and a defense that couldn't stop a JV team. So I just feel like he's kind of got the short end of the stick right now with his career. But I do feel like Herbert is going to be the guy. I just feel like he's going to need them to actually put a good team around him, and he'll be fine.
The problem is every offseason people say how good their team is, and then all of a sudden their team's not good enough. It's not Herbert's fault. So I'm like, whose fault is it? Now, obviously, they got rid of the coach, so maybe it was the coaching fault. We'll see.
Yeah, they also got rid of the receivers.
Weird that Rec chimed in when I mentioned coach's fault.
I just said they also got rid of the receivers.
They got which were really good wide receivers. Obviously, Mike Williams had health issues. But it wasn't like they just filled it in with some guys. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were staples in that offense for the last 4 or 5 years. Keenan Allen for almost 10 years, right, and Mike Williams the last 4 or 5. So that's a big loss for sure. Now you got to have timing, with the new wide receivers. They took my Georgia boy, right?
Yeah, they took Lad
McConkey, who will be a nice piece, but that's your number one. That's a problem moving forward. So we'll see.
He's number 2. It's Palmer, McConkey, and then Chark.
Okay, well, that screams to me is you don't have a number 1. Right. You may not have a number 2 yet.
But don't forget, they literally just substituted their running backs for the Baltimore Ravens and took Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. So
who can't say
they're basic. Is he trying to build his brother's team and the Ravens? He's like the Ravens West Coast, basically. Is that what he's doing?
Right. I guess so.
Kind of going on with that same thing. Mentioned it during the AFC West segment, but the Chiefs have no competition in the AFC West. Hot take: AFC West outside KC is trash. You could put Cleveland in this division, and the Browns would. If you swap KC and Cleveland, the Browns would win the division. Of course, you have the Broncos. They got rid of everybody. You have the Raiders.
The Browns, to be fair, with Joe Flacco, won more games than your team last year. So when you compare them, if we insert the Browns in there, that's like a team that went 11-5 last year.
But they also have Gilbert Cleveland starting this year.
The Browns are in trouble with their quarterback doesn't have an arm anymore, which is perfect. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I still think the Browns.
We always celebrate.
I got one.
With Deshaun Watson at quarterback, would win the division, would win the AFC West if they were replaced with KC. The Chargers, is Jim Harbaugh the guy who knows? And then outside of Herbert, who do you have on the team? Old Man Mac, Joey Bosa, what's on this team? And then the Raiders, they don't really have a defense outside Max Crosby. Devontae Adams is going to be traded.
2 years ago, the Chiefs were the cat's meow. So everyone in the AFC West loaded up. They got Devontae Adams. They got Russell Wilson. They got all these pieces
All
to
the
combat
defensive
and be
pass
like,
rushers.
and the preseason talk was the AFC West is going to be a dogfight. That's the best division of football.
Yeah. It was
And then it didn't
brutal.
obviously play out that way.
Yeah.
So,
But I think,
but I get what you're saying. That's not crazy to say. Like,
they would be competitive
AFC
for the top.
North. I think you overrate the AFC North a little bit, Rec. No offense, but the AFC West is very unproven outside of the Chiefs, so they gotta prove it. I mean, and to be fair, we just compared Herbert and Lawrence, and we were like, we'll all take Herbert. Well, they played in the playoffs 2 years ago, and Lawrence beat Herbert in a come from behind win, right? Like, so fair or not, he won that game. But the AFC North, I'll make up a hot take right now that I didn't even think of it. The hot take is the AFC North is full of mids.
Full of just
all mid.
All mid.
They're all mid.
Some people say it's the best division in football from what I've been listening to this last week.
Yeah, and maybe they just look at there's not a terrible team in the division, which is fair. But it's a division of mids, Chris. Who's great in that division? Who's truly great? And if you throw out Baltimore, I'll laugh in your face. Pittsburgh's
we're mid.
That's a problem.
We're mid.
Yeah.
We're mid. Just
Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback. They're the definition of mid. And then you go to the Bengals, who you're relying on
Joe Burrow being healthy.
Joe Burrow. But honestly, their backup didn't even play that. Their backup might have played better than Joe Burrow did.
Browning did. Absolutely. Browning did. You're right.
So
he was competitive.
I mean, it might be the most mid of mid divisions.
You heard it here first. Breaking news. AFC North is mid. All across the board.
Mids. Battle of the mids.
Speaking of North, I have my hot take for you guys.
Let's hear it.
And
all right.
It's kind of, but based off of what Scotty said, I think he's going to raise an eyebrow to this. But I think that Detroit sweeps the North and wins 13 games and wins the Super Bowl.
You think they go 6-0 in the division?
I think they're going to sweep it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ooh.
That's a hot take, isn't it?
It's a hot take.
It's a hot take.
Yeah,
I'll put like this. I would never pick a
honestly,
team to sweep a division. I would never do that.
I mean,
I don't even pick the Chiefs to go 6-0. I wouldn't pick the Patriots, even though their division's always dog shit.
It goes hand in hand with the other hot take of what Scotty said earlier, where with NFC representation, right?
The NFC North, I think, is good. I don't think the Lions can sweep that division. If they were playing the NFC South and you said they sweep, I'd be like, yeah, all right.
But that's the point.
Well
that's the point.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a hot take. So
yeah,
sure.
Hot takes, baby. That's what this is all about. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see if that defense is like consistent enough. And then you have Jared Goff, Jared Goff is like, I think, mostly underrated. He's definitely underrated in people's minds. But is he like he's not a top 5 QB in the league.
Well, he has those road.
They don't need him to be. That's the thing. He doesn't need to be. The rest of the team around him and the defense they have, I don't think you need a top 10 quarterback play. You just need top 15, a guy that goes out, gets 250 and 2 touchdowns, let your offense run the ball, get the ball to Amon-Ra, and let your defense do the rest. And I think they can.
Is that back end of the defense very good? Like, is that secondary good?
Secondary is not good.
Yeah, that's my issue. I have a problem with Detroit's secondary. I love Aiden Hutchinson. I love Jack Campbell, who they drafted at linebacker last year. They have pieces all across the board. Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is going to be a top 5 pass rusher in the league this year. The back end, for me, is where you have issues in Detroit.
Of course. But that's why I have so much faith in the offense, that I have faith in them to win the shootouts more than I do Green Bay, more than I do for Minnesota, and just more than I do for Chicago. Like, Caleb Williams is a question mark. Minnesota doesn't have a quarterback really either. Let's be honest. So you're telling me
Sam Darnold,
Darnold, baby.
But I'm saying, do you think that Jordan Love is enough for Green Bay on that offensive young. That's a young team. That's a good team. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're not. But I'm just saying that there's too many like with the question marks that I have for them versus Detroit. I think Detroit could get it done. Not saying it's going to be easy. Obviously, that's not an easy task to do it all ever. But I just felt like for me,
It's a hot take.
It's not a crazy hot take. I mean, I think Detroit on paper has the best roster in that division. So yeah. Do they win all their games? Probably not. But that's why it's a hot take.
All right.
Yeah, everyone loves Campbell.
I could go a couple different directions with my next hot take. By the way, guys, there's a lot of you chilling in the chat, hanging out with us. Hit that follow button if you're loving everything. Bobby, hit the follow button. JT, hit the follow button. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Let's get more followers in here.
Somebody who just said the NFC South is better than the NFC East.
That was JT.
JT.
It's not crazy.
I
don't think it's crazy. I think the NFC East has issues this year.
Yeah, I'd say NFC East is more low ceiling, high floor, and well, I mean the NFC South has Carolina, so if that automatically drops them a bunch of points.
Yeah,
like,
but as far as contenders, like I don't know if the Eagles or Cowboys are at this point sure contenders. The Cowboys just lost Ron Bland for like the half a season now.
You heard my hot take on the Eagles earlier.
Sorts of contract issues. The Eagles they're without their most important person, who's Jason Kelce in my mind, on that roster. They weren't able to keep it together with Jason Kelce. How are they going to keep it together without Jason Kelce? Like, that dude was the greatest human being on that team, and they don't have an adult as a coach. They need to fire that guy immediately. Nick Sirianni is the bottom 5 coach in the league, and it's not close.
That's a hot take.
What's your rating for him? What's your rating for him, Rec? Since we're talking coaches,
I out of 25, I had Sirianni at 11.
Yeah, way too high. Way too high.
I mean, I have him in the
trash.
I have him in the same tier as Mike Tomlin.
He's a child, and he was so lucky to make a Super Bowl. They made a Super Bowl in spite of him, not because of him.
I have so many segues to a couple more takes that I don't know where to go. I don't know which branch I want, which choose my own adventure I want to go on here.
Go left.
I got AFC. I could veer off to the AFC West. I could veer off into.
It wasn't a veer. People were talking about the AFC West.
Let's do AFC West and let's just break it down. All right. Hot take. Love this one. I think I've actually hinted at this one on the stream leading up to this. Hot take. The Denver Broncos finished second in this division. So let's talk about it a little bit. You got the Chargers, who have a new coach implementing, all the new things. It takes some time to get up to speed with things. Plus, also, we've talked about the wide receiver core in the LA. I mean, LA Chargers might not be the best team in LA this year. I mean, they might not be. The Rams might be the best team in LA this year.
The Rams are the best team, but that doesn't mean the LA Chargers are worse than the Broncos.
So here's the thing. I think that there's going to be. I think everyone's always high. We talk about it. Mandalorian said it. We break it down about how hyped the Chargers are every single year, and we've acknowledged the step that Justin Herbert needs to take as a quarterback and what he needs to do to elevate. Maybe that's this year, but there's going to be some growing pains with a new coach. And I think the Raiders, on the other hand, too, you have a coach that we don't believe in, and you have Gardner Minshew, who I think that combination right there. We talk about what wins football games. It's coach and quarterback, and you have some questionable things going on with the Raiders. So I think that the Broncos could be in a competitive battle down the stretch of the season with the Chargers, and it wouldn't shock me if the Broncos had enough competency to stay in the mix and get second in the division.
Anyone else want to start, or just me?
No, I mean, go ahead, Scotty. You got it.
I think Bo Nix is going to be better than a lot of people think. Well, obviously that he's getting hyped now. The roster in Denver is bad. It's just bad.
I think
Sean Payton becomes more and more less likable per every day that I hear him talk. Which doesn't mean he's a bad coach. So those are separate, right? I used to think like I was indifferent towards Sean Payton. I thought he was just a smart head coach. Now he's very unlikable to me. With what he says, he's so arrogant in how he talks. He's like, I fooled everyone into getting Bo Nix. And I'm like, no one else was taking Bo Nix at 13 in the draft. You might be right in the long term, but you didn't fool anybody. Like, no one else was trying to be like, I really want Bo Nix at 13. But he's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room every day. And also, if you ask me a controversial question, he gets a little Dion in him where he's like, doesn't want to answer.
Next question.
Yeah, he's kind of an asshole. So along those lines, I just don't. While I like Bo Nix's potential, the roster's bad. Where's the roster good in Denver? What strength do they have? They're not, first of all, Bo Nix isn't going to outperform Justin Herbert this year. So let's stop right now. That's not going to be. Maybe he's kind of closer to a Gardner Minshew in with the Raiders. You don't have a true number one wide receiver. You don't have elite weapons. Your offensive line is kind of okay. Your defense is what? Outside of Pat Surtain, what?
There's a lot of proving.
The back end is not good. The back end is not good.
There's a lot. The thing with this
like
roster
a lot of
is
unknown.
There's a lot of unknown. But see, the thing with the unknown is there could be some diamonds in the rough that show out.
Sure, could be.
And like you don't know
if we're watching Aladdin.
You know, can you show me the world? Maybe some of these players can. Maybe some of these guys can come in and actually have a decent chance to make some plays.
Outside of Pat Surtain, 90% of the people that are deem themselves really smart NFL people couldn't say another secondary player on your team.
True.
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, Rec. Go ahead, Doc. Who's another secondary player outside of Pat Surtain on the Broncos right now? Don't look it up.
I'm not. I already said
unfortunately,
Exactly.
Cuban Josie Jewell isn't here anymore.
Josie Jewell's a linebacker.
He's not here anymore. He's gone.
And he's not here.
Yeah.
But he's not even a defensive back.
So DJ Jones, Baron Browning, they've had some flashes. They haven't, there's some pieces that have some upside that showed out last year when they were kind of just in this losing games and they were bright spots, right? I think that there could be some bright spots, and I think that there could be some guys under this. I mean, it's a new culture. It's a new vibe when you're like, have something exciting to be going into a season. Nobody liked to play for Russ. Nobody on that team believed in Russ. People actually believe, and that changes some things too. I think that the culture is different. So I think there's something to it.
Broncos fans should be unconcerned with win-loss this year.
Yeah.
And only focused on one player. Bo Nix is all that matters for the Broncos this year.
True.
That's it. And even if they don't win a lot against Javonte
But I'm saying, like, if he has a comeback back and he stays healthy, but I'm just saying, like, that doesn't matter. That won't help, Bo. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Well, they're not going anywhere this year. So long term, you need to focus on one player and one player only. You can go 4-13, but if like Bo Nix kind of plays well in those games, because he very well could. That's how bad the rest of the roster is. I mean, there's nothing. There's no Pro Bowlers on this roster outside of Pat Surtain. It's a bad roster.
They got some.
They have the worst GM debatably in football.
Probably.
Who's still there somehow. I don't know how he's still there. It's a very bad GM.
Well, hot take. They finished. This bad team is finishing second. Let's go.
Yeah.
You can be hopeful. I'm happy that you're hopeful at least.
I know, Mandalorian.
I'll drink some extra alcohol for you. You Denver fans.
I think you should be more excited about just focusing on.
I am. Believe me.
I think that's what Broncos fans should just focus on, not win losses. How
I'll
about
drink to that.
how about
Cheers.
Nick's looks?
Can I do that as a Steeler fan this year?
Yeah,
Can
you-
I do that too, Scotty?
The problem is
right next
you don't have a quarterback to like
Fields.
hope. No.
Amanda Lauren, she's
Sorry.
like, you got to give
Fields is already out. You don't tell me another time where a team trades a quarterback for like a 4th round pick and that quarterback works out for the other team.
Yeah.
They weren't
Never.
Justin Fields though.
But it never happened. You don't trade a quarterback for a 4th round pick if you think that guy could be something. I
I'm
think
just
Fields
trying to
is
be
done.
hopeful like Chris here. Okay, Scotty, quit harshing my
I
dream
know.
mellow, okay?
I'm
I know
sorry.
Amanda Lauren in the chat. You got to give it to
sorry.
Chris credit for defending the Broncos. Hey, hey, that's my boys. Thick and thin, baby. Let's go.
It's hot takes, so it's fine.
Hot takes.
I just think you should just focus on not wins loss, but your quarterback play.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's veer off to the other choose your adventure because we touched on this a little bit in the division of the AFC South. And hot take,
Spicy.
the Jags start awful this season and finish dead last in the division. They won't even be competitive. And basically, I just have issues with, some of the things that, we witnessed one last year. And then their coaching, I think it needs some work, their offensive line. But you take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're kind of rough, especially to start the season. Let's look at their schedule real quick. So the Jacksonville Jaguars coming down to the opening section of the season at Miami. Then you got the Browns, the Bills, the Texans, the Colts, who the Colts are going to be improved. The Bears will be improved. They have the Patriots, whatever. Then you got the Packers, the Eagles, the Vikings, the Lions, Texans. So it's like you could look at that stretch of teams, and maybe Patriots and Vikings are winnable. Maybe Browns at home. Maybe, I don't know. Browns defense is decent, but you're looking at a team last season that I think they won 9 games, and we talked a little bit about Justin or Trevor Lawrence. Is he going to be taking a leap forward? For me, Doug Peterson is kind of, what's he done? He's only won 10 games once, and it was a Super Bowl season. He's only won 10 games once in his career. So is he the guy to get him over? And that's when he had a top 5 DC. That's when he had a really good coaching staff.
I think that's a right stat, to be honest.
Doug Peterson,
Yeah.
as a head coach,
I'll verify.
verify.
When they the year before with the Jags, they didn't win 10 games.
I mean, they might have gone 9-8 because they did start shit.
Jags were 9-8 last year. Let me look.
The year before.
Doug
is what I'm talking about.
Peterson
So
coaching career.
So I mean, as a head coach, it was that 10-win season. They went to the Super Bowl.
He won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as his quarterback. To be clear,
but he also had a really good coaching
I
staff.
was
Go ahead.
gonna say, to be fair, just like one season many years ago doesn't automatically make him good now. Trust me, I would.
They
know.
were 9-8 in 2022.
Also, I just confirmed that Super Bowl season was the only time Peterson won double-digit games in the season. He's won 9 games four times in his career. The other season he won 7-9, and then he got fired after going 4-11-1.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
we're acting like he's had 500 years of coaching. He hasn't.
But he's been
I mean, he's coached for 7 years. This will be his 8th.
Okay. And what's his overall record as a head coach?
60, 53-1.
So above 500. Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But is that qualify him to get this team where it needs to be in this division? I don't know. I think hot take. You got Tennessee, who picked up some players.
Who's Tennessee's coach?
Brian Callahan.
Exactly. No, it's not.
It's Brian Callahan, former
No.
offensive coordinator of the Bengals.
Oh yeah. I was thinking Calvin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a guy that's 0-0 as a head coach.
SDG,
Go on,
where's
Chris.
Peterson on the Rex coaches go?
Who's the other head coaches in this
On
division?
the rec scale.
on the Rex scale? Where's
I'm with Chris
Peterson?
on this one. I'm on Chris with Chris on this one. Out of 25, I had Peterson at 21.
That's so insane. The dude's won more games than he's lost as a head coach, and he's 21 of 25. That's crazy.
I don't like him.
He's gonna finish. He's
I
gonna
don't like.
hot
Is that what
take.
you just said?
Hot take.
Did he just say I put him there because I don't like him? Is that what he just said?
Yeah, I don't like Peterson. I don't think he's a good coach. It's
You don't
like
think he's a good coach? Tell me more.
I think
it's weird. Like after
I didn't.
it's weird, like after Peterson won the Super Bowl, it felt like something swapped. Like he went from doing what he thought was best, which is why he was a good coach beforehand. And he just like started going to what the league wanted. Like, the league is moving to more of a West Coast thing. Sure, I'll turn Carson Wentz into an option quarterback, even though that's not his style.
He had to work with Carson Wentz. Guess what? Carson Wentz is barely now a backup.
Who was the OC for that team?
No one.
I want to say it was Sirianni.
No, it was not Sirianni.
I think it was Sirianni.
It was absolutely not Sirianni.
Oh no, it was Frank Reich. It was Frank Reich. Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator of that team.
Maybe?
Yeah, because like I do remember a thing where like the Eagles and Colts kept trading coaches for a little while, which is weird, but
Now I
but
didn't.
yeah, Frank
Now,
Reich was the OC.
to be clear, I didn't say he was a bad coach. I said he was maybe overrated in what people think of him overall.
To rank him 21 of 25 when he won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as his quarterback is absolute garbage.
Didn't you hear him? He said he didn't like him, Scotty.
I'm not
Great, you don't have to like him. That doesn't mean you rank him at 21 of 25. Who's in front of him? Who's in front of him?
One of the other guys.
What are the 20 guys in front of him that
My hot
only
take's not important anymore.
only four of them won a Super Bowl, probably. And none of them won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles because you know who else won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles? No one, because Nick Foles fucking sucks. But Doug Peterson won one with him. I'm so mad right now. I'm going to get a text from my wife right now.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, calm down.
Scotty, go get a drink.
What are we doing? How can he be 21 of 25 when he won a Super Bowl? He has a winning record over the fucking 7 years he's been a coach in the league, and he's one of the bottom 5 coaches in the game? What?
Real quick, Scotty. I at least have Mike Tomlin over him.
That doesn't comfort me, Red. You probably have Tomlin at 20. I can't.
I told you I have him in the same tier as Sirianni. I have him at 15.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing ranking a Super Bowl winning coach at 21 to 25 that has an all-time winning record? Has he been I'm not trying to argue that Doug Peterson's this life-altering coach that's historical in any fashion. But to say he's not even top half of the league right now is crazy. The dude's won 60 games, lost 53. He won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, his backup quarterback, by the way. He had one shit year in Philadelphia. They sent him off. He replaced the single worst head coach in the history of football, maybe, in Jacksonville. And he's won more games than he's lost both years. Is he a top 5 to 7 coach in the league? You could say no, and I'd be like, yeah, absolutely not. Is he 21?
I need to see these rankings, by the way. Can you print these?
Are they on the website?
They're on the website, Devil Dog. So go to
ActionLabSports.com. ActionLabSports.com in the chat.
Is there an ability to comment on the articles, Chris?
There is an ability to comment on the
articles.
Comment
away on that trash take, guys. Comment. Scott needs some or noble bath. That doesn't really help me. I just need logical takes. I just need logical takes. That's all I need.
You're best.
So Chris, on your hot take, I'm going to go back on you a little bit on one of your parts.
What was your hot take? I don't even remember.
Jags finished last in the division.
I don't remember.
So one of the things you mentioned, I'm going to push back on a little bit. Hot take. Colts regress this year, and Chris Ballard loses his job because of it.
Colts. So wait, where do the Colts finish then? You say they finished last?
No, I'm not. I don't know. They're not going to finish last, but they're not going to do as well as they did last year. the problem with Chris Ballard and the Indianapolis Colts, they never then he's never aggressive. Like he's always
Ballard, he
content
doesn't
with
shoot
what-
his shot. He doesn't shoot
Yeah.
his shot.
Yeah, exactly. He's always content with what he has. He never goes after the big fish. Like who was their top free agent signing this past season? Like the only guy I can name is Joe Flacco. Who else did they sign this offseason?
So you're saying 7 and 10?
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. But like the Colts, they never shoot their shot. They're always content with just what they have.
Their biggest
And
upgrade is a healthy Richardson.
Ballard went
He's not making
thinking he
much.
had a great situation with Andrew Luck for years, and then Andrew Luck, like a year after he was there, was like, "Actually, I'm 29 and I'm retiring," and he was like, "You son of a bitch." But yeah, I agree. Ballard's he's not aggressive enough. You gotta shoot your shot at times, and he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, even if Anthony Richardson is an upgrade over Minshew, still feel like the team around him stagnates. Like the team doesn't exactly get better. I think that causes them to do worse than they did last year, and I think he finally loses his job over it.
I think people are overrating Anthony Richardson's ability to be a good quarterback in the NFL a little bit.
Well, he's got
like he's still a question mark, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of him. I will admit I was wrong on how bad he would be in his first few games, but
he's still like there were some stats that you like throw a lot of caution to too.
Yeah, I agree.
Successful, but like his accuracy is not good. He's not an accurate guy. They're gonna be a run first offense in Indy. They're gonna rely on Jonathan Taylor, and that's what they should do. But it'll be interesting to see. Anthony Richardson, the wide receiver core is what? Michael Pittman.
Downs,
Downs, and
Who's
Josh
the-
Downs, I think, is hurt.
No, who's the Cincy wide receiver they have?
Adonai Mitchell, they just drafted.
Mitchell from Texas, yeah. But
Yeah.
there's a Cincy wide receiver they've had that's kind of.
Was it? I'll check the receiver.
It was a
pool real quick.
few years. It was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Alec Pierce.
Yeah,
Oh,
Pierce.
Pierce. Like that's not a great.
No.
Core. I'd say that's
No,
probably like
it's
a
not.
bottom 10 core in the league.
Yeah, and the offensive line
Maybe
has
5.
been good for a long time, but like
You're saying
aging
Michael
and, like-
Pittman's a bottom 10?
No, I'm saying the core, the wide receiver core as a whole is bottom 10.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
Are
not,
you-
it's not good at all.
I would probably agree with
I
that.
could argue bottom
Yeah.
5. Like if you
Unless
said bottom 5, I wouldn't
Mitchell balls out, I would agree with that.
I mean, they finally got him another big body. He's 6'2", 205, and he's actually kind of speedy, so it could help them. But yeah, I mean, it definitely
It
doesn't
could,
strike
but-
fear in your heart when you talk about their wide receiver core.
Pittman
Yeah.
got paid. He did.
Right.
You guys, people in
He
the
did.
chat were
Yeah,
asking.
yeah.
Yeah, Pittman got paid. Looks like Scott could use a gummy. I mean, well,
you still have a leftover.
We saw what
one?
happened last time he had a gummy. He did not
I
like
was
it.
boring. I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
I don't get the appeal, to be honest.
What's up, Corn Doggy? Who said the Bears are winning the North?
Scotty
that was
me.
Scotty's take.
It's a hot take, guys.
We're hot takes, you know.
It's a
But-
hot
but
take.
yeah. But yeah, I think the Colts fall. I'm not going to outright say they'll be last, but I think they struggle. I don't think they do as well. I like Steichen as a coach, but I don't really like the team as a whole. I just think they go down.
No,
I mean-
need to- if it's a hot take, say they're finished last.
Okay.
I mean, with that though, I mean,
Yeah.
I do agree with him on that because you have to realize. I feel like a lot of their success and failures is going to rely on that the quarterback play of Richardson, and if he struggles, I do think the Colts as a team are going to struggle.
Yeah, Rick, you got to do what I did and just say, hey, I just jumped on the Jags and said they're finishing dead
Yeah.
last. That's
At
it.
they're
very
not-
least, at very least,
Colts
the Colts
then.
finishing last is a strong possibility.
And then
Listen,
I don't
one
like
of
the Colts
you
this year.
might be right because now you've got 50% of the division finishing last. So.
Right,
I mean,
see,
yeah,
one of
so,
those.
so
And the
Doc, we need you to take Tennessee, and then we'll let Scotty jump on the
Because
the
Tennessee
bombshell.
probably should.
I got you.
A lot of
I
people
got you.
think Tennessee will finish last, and
Yeah.
I'm not picking. I'm not going to. pick
Tennessee
Texas
doesn't
to
finish last. There's my hot take. There you go.
That would actually
Wait,
be
here's my hot take on the Titans real quick. The Titans have the most name power in the wide receiver room, but it does nothing. They have all these names, and it's just gonna flame out.
With Will
Calvin
Levis.
Ridley, overrated, overpaid. DeAndre
Listen.
Hopkins, old.
See, these rants are
Personally-
perfect. I love this. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm talking
Keep going.
about they got who they get. They got Tyler Boyd, who's
Hey,
solid.
don't you watch what you say about my boy Boyd. You better watch what you say.
I mean, he's solid receiver, but he's not going to move the needle much for Tennessee. Traylon
Right.
Burks, first round pick, useless.
SCG
like this-
has
they
a good idea.
Right. And that's what I was just about to get to for you, Scotty. Go ahead.
SCG said, "Can we dedicate a show to Scotty blowing up Rex coaching ranking?" That could be an electric show.
That could be.
He has got,
Cuban
we have
says
enough
every
time?
show, but I don't know your rankings.
Do we
I
need to
haven't
do
read
this?
the article.
I think we need to do this in like parts, like part 1, part 2,
Yeah.
part 3.
We'll
part 4,
we'll
I don't wanna
do
get
a
too
reveal
heated
like
and,
all
like, pass
ranking
out.
shows. We'll do a reveal like all
Yeah.
ranking shows, like we did with the top 100 athletes, and we'll just go, top 5, or
Right.
top or 10 coaches. Then we'll do the next show. We'll do the, we'll keep the hype, right?
A Mandalorian, Scotty's Brian Dable a better coach than Peterson? No.
JT Giants will finish second in the NFC East. That is a very hot take. Very
yeah,
hot
that
take.
is a super hot take. I don't
That's-
like the Giants at all.
That's a scolding take. All right, let me get. Should we just? What is it? It's top of the hour here.
Yeah.
All right, one more scorching hot take. That again, these are hot takes, guys. These are hot takes. We're having fun with these.
We're having fun.
We're having fun
I
as
am
we
gonna do it.
scream.
Well, I'll wait.
As we scream into the
Scotty's
microphones.
slamming on the table.
We're having fun, guys. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
All right.
Yeah, and seeing this guy's blood pressure over 9,000 over the coaching makes me amazing.
Let's go crazy here.
Corn doggy.
Let's.
Seahawks win the NFC West.
Ooh, okay, all right. Yeah, guys, how about that's a great idea. Every one of you guys, I want to hear your hottest take that again is probably not going to happen, but you just have a gut feeling that there's a slight possibility you might see it at the end of the season. I want everyone's. 49ers will miss the playoffs. Okay.
I think the
That
hot take in the
is-
NFC West is I think the Cardinals win the NFC West. That would be a hot take.
All right.
Yeah,
I got.
I do like the Cardinals head coach.
All right.
I know you don't like.
Texans finished with a losing record. Keep them coming, guys. I like these. We'll break some of these down. My last one. This is my scorching hot one. Probably not going to happen, but hot take.
Spicy.
Bryce Young gets benched before the end of the season, and he's not going to be
I
playing.
can see.
He's not like
I can see it.
Bryce Young won't finish the season starting for this team, and they're going to go in to the latter part of the season with Andy Dalton because of how bad this team is, whether they want to preserve it or preserve his health at some point, or whether he just is so bad and they just end up wanting to just win games at some point. I mean, you want to lose as many games to get as many picks, and I get it all, but like we look at Bryce Young, I'm still holding patience for him because here's the thing: the longer it takes for him to contribute, and the more CJ Stroud succeeds, the more people look at this team are going to be like, yeah, I don't know. And how much patience does this Carolina team have with Bryce Young if he doesn't do anything this year and you see CJ Stroud taking his team deep into a playoff run, winning one playoff game, maybe two, with a good team? Now, I mean, you can look back and, you had bad rookie seasons by like Josh Allen, but you could still pull stuff from him, right? You could still say Josh Allen was good from 10 to 19 yards, one of the best in the league as a rookie. Zach Wilson, you could say he was good when he had more than 2.5 seconds to throw the ball. He can be competent, but still a bad rookie season. Like, how much can we pull from CJ Stroud's rookie season? And I know it's a bad team. I get it. But it's like, he looks slower, scrambling. A lot of the things that came out of the draft, he was like everyone was excited to see his athleticism. He's smaller and he's maybe slower than I would have expected. He gets into these NFL games and these defensive players are quicker than you would ever think, right? So part of me thinks Bryce Young struggles and he ends up getting benched at some points this season.
I agree with you.
He could struggle. I don't know why they'd bench him.
I don't.
I don't know why they'd bench him. He could struggle. I don't know why they'd bench him.
I don't-
I don't know why they'd bench him. He could struggle. I don't know why they'd bench him. What are you gonna find out? You're like, well, let's play Andy Dalton to see who he is.
No,
Dude's
just
like
just
90 years old.
try to win games or do something.
They're
they
not
throw-
trying to win. They're not trying to win games. Let's.
I think-
be honest.
And even if
Might
they
just
would,
be-
it's going to be different because if they truly are trying to win, they'll throw Jack Plummer out there.
Yeah,
That's
Jack.
the real no.
There you go. Okay, so
Yeah,
Jack
but
Plummer.
I agree with you because Bryce Young is bad, but it's not really his fault. 'Cause the Panthers did everything they could to set him up for failure. They might just bench him to be like.
They've
just like-
tried this offseason. They added Deontay
Deontay.
Johnson and Xavier Leggett
And John
Liggett.
Brooks.
My new favorite player.
to go along with Adam. I'm 95 years old, but still somehow productive.
Thielen.
So
I mean, wait, if he's
they're
old, what does that make
trying.
you?
Well, I'm not playing in the NFL, to be
Oh,
clear.
okay.
Am I NFL ready? Absolutely not.
Oh.
Never have been. Never have been. Hot take. I'm ready to go. That would be a hot take. And
Just to get a beer?
Just
Yeah,
a
me
bad
too.
take. Yeah, I might grab one. I don't know. Yeah, I
You
mean,
probably
Carolina's
need
going to
one
be bad this year. While I think Bryce Young could be bad again this year, I don't see the reason to bench him at any point. Like, what are you getting by that? So that would be my question mark with that. But is Carolina going to be bad? Probably. Is Bryce Young? I mean, what a fleece for the Bears, trading away the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago for Carolina to move up to take Bryce Young, and then the Bears get DJ Moore and some other guys, and then the number 1 overall pick to get Caleb Williams.
Oof.
Like, what a fleece of a trade.
Absolutely. They
the police
cashed
of the
in.
century.
Yeah.
They cashed in.
I mean, that's like what the Seahawks cashed in on getting rid of Russell Wilson. Like, that's how much of a fleece it was. I forget the other team that was involved in that trade, but there was another team in the Russell Wilson deal.
I'm not sure who
I
that-
mean,
I'm not-
Chris, if you want to just move on, I could just go tell Sky my bottom 5 coaches, see which one. he
Well, real
hates.
quick.
No,
Oh,
I gotta.
God.
First
Yeah,
of all, I'm gonna
yeah.
do a code yellow, and then I'll be back in a second.
STG. STG, hot take, Miami or Buffalo does not win the AFC East. My hot take
Maybe
earlier,
the Jets.
STG, was the Jets winning the AFC East and just running away with a nice little playoff run and maybe doing some damage in the playoffs. So I'm on board with you with that, STG. As far as they had a number 3 defense, the New York Jets had a number 3 defense last year when it came to yards. And they were really, really good on that side of the football. They have a good running back, a good wide receiver option that are both top 10 in the league. There's a lot to like. But that's who I have on the hot take as well, the Jets. See, we're on the same wavelength, STG. I like it. I'm not the only one. All right. So, but the Jets are the Mets. They're the Mets of the NFL. And that's why it was kind of shocking when I said it, because I never believe in the Jets. I never do. And here I am believing in the Jets. like, come on, man. More hot takes in the chat. Buffalo not making the playoffs. Josh Allen can't do everything. Okay, JT.
I do agree with that one, JT. Like I like Josh Allen as a quarterback. I like Sean McDermott as a head coach. What else does that team have? Matt Milano's out until at least December. Like, they have a couple of tight ends and Ed Oliver. That's it. That team is not good.
We have to track these hot takes and check at the end of the season. We do, yeah, absolutely, SDG. We will. We'll this will be uploaded to YouTube. So, guys, if you haven't followed our YouTube channel or subscribed to our YouTube channel, exclamation point socials, it will get you the link to our YouTube, and you can check out all of our division previews. You can check out all of our videos we'll be doing weekly. So make sure you go do that whenever you can. What coach?
Ooh, Mike McCarthy's the top one. Mike
What
McCarthy's on the hot seat.
what coaches are on the hot seat this season? Good question.
Mike McCarthy's atop of that. If the
In general,
Cowboys
like
once again
half of
embarrassed-
them, and half of them lose their job.
Sirianni probably.
yeah, I'd say Sirianni. I like
Sirianni is.
yeah.
Eberflus.
Eberflus,
Eberflus in Chicago, yeah, was on the top
Yeah,
of my mind.
Dennis Allen. I mean, he should have been on the hot seat before,
Dennis-
so maybe he's not.
Dennis Allen
Allen,
might
New
not make it through the
Orleans.
season.
Dennis Allen sucks so much. I don't know why the Saints keep him around.
Dennis Allen might not make it through the season.
Mike Tomlin's comfortable. He'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yes,
take
he
my
is.
code yellow real quick.
No, spam code yellow for Chris real quick.
But yeah, so like
Cuban Benny
Eberflus-
Shannon. I don't think Shanny's on the hot seat.
He's not.
I don't know if there's any. I'm trying to think of NS or AFC East.
AFC East, Mayo's
Patriots,
new.
Mayo's new.
Salah might be on the hot seat. Just because
Probably. It probably should be.
McDermott.
Yeah, it should be McDermott. Quite frankly, McDermott's been like good for a long time, and I think someone in the chat just said like, "Oh, hot take is the Bills not making the playoffs," and I think that's kind of a common take that I've seen a lot. Is like that roster is not as good, but
Yeah.
I think I'm higher on Josh Allen than most. So I think that the argument was literally like Josh Allen can't do everything. I think Josh Allen can carry a team to the playoffs, and they'll still make it, in my opinion. But that's how good I think Josh Allen. Obviously, they've lost a lot of pieces on that team, and then they lost again. Their linebacker, what's his name, got hurt after being
Matt
hurt.
Milano.
Matt Milano. He might be back. He should be back for December, but still, that's a loss. You have all new wide receivers almost.
Your number one is Khalil Shakir.
Who I like in fantasy. I mean, with where he's going in fantasy, draft Khalil Shakir.
That might be a little bit of a hot take.
Yeah, draft him, guys. He's gonna be very prolific in the Bills' offense.
Bowles, maybe I don't know if Bowles. I'm not a big fan of Bowles, but I don't know if his seat's really warm right now.
Yeah, probably not. I'm trying to think. McCarthy, obviously. Washington, too soon, probably.
Yeah.
Going in a year or two.
Dan Quinn probably won't last too long, but he'll make it past this year.
Or year one. Well, yeah. Stefanski. I don't know. I don't know if you can
I don't think
blame Stefanski for a bad season this year, like with what's going on in Minnesota. They get a guy hurt in training camp like every day.
No, Stefanski is Cleveland Browns.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell's Minnesota. Yeah.
No, but also Stefanski's not on the hot seat.
Agreed there.
He just took a Cleveland team that offensively, you didn't have Nick Chubb, you didn't have Deshaun Watson, and you made the playoffs and had a good season.
Actually, along this line, a hot take: if the Ravens underperform this year, Harbaugh could surprisingly get fired.
That's
won't happen.
He has to have a really, really bad season for him to get like the hot seat. I feel like
Honestly,
he's done well in Baltimore.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing with Tomlin, where it's just like I feel like the Ravens might need a new voice in the locker room.
I mean, I don't love Gannon. He's only in year 2 in Arizona, but like that dude's about as uninspiring as a brick wall.
Do you think Brian Dable is history if he sucks this season? They're gonna be bad though.
Yeah, I don't know. Dable might be, but I wouldn't put him as a lock.
I mean,
Zach Taylor.
I mean, it's hard because like Dable, they loved after year 1.
Yeah,
and the roster's not great. I love Malik Neighbors. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a monster in the NFL. Daniel Jones, I almost feel bad for at this point. Like he's like he just gets made fun of for every bad throw he throws.
Hot take: he's comeback player of the year. There you go.
Is that, can you be comeback player of the year if you? I guess he was hurt a little bit last year.
Yeah. But you can be comeback player of the year if you're just bad. I mean, Joe Flacco won it last year.
Yeah. I feel like comeback player of the year shouldn't be like I was so bad that I wasn't even in the league for a while. I don't know. Maybe it should be. I think it should just be like a guy coming back from injury. Maybe. Just me. But I get it.